actually, the members were actually 2,500, so there is a lot of missing members there.
Sure, that's what I thought. But did they continue on immediately afterwards, but setting up base in Monte Carlo, or what happened?
Monte Carlo was already being set up in 1976.
Okay.
But let's say that later on it went through some problems because Ezio Giunchia was suddenly he was arrested, and then he was accused of being the head of the Monte Carlo Lodge by the Italian authorities, so that created some problems. Obviously he had to say that he had nothing to do with it and that they were making everything up, because in reality the Monte Carlo Lodge had a different purpose and a different plan and a different strategy to follow than the P2 original setup. It was built up with a different ideal.
But the name P2 was still retained for the lower level of that three-level Monte Carlo structure you were saying. Is that not correct?
Well, they were from being P2 members, then they became themselves involved, the heads of the various divisions became Grand Master of their own obediences. Once the P2 was no longer within the Grand Orient of Italy, they had to
1976, wasn't it?
No, this happened actually not in 1976. That's the official. What's the official version is given out, that the P2 Lodge was in some way exposed and kicked out of the Grand Orient of Italy. That's not correct, because the P2 was only disbanded officially after 1981.
Right. Okay. But they were.
They went underground.
Overtly kicked out of the Grand.
No, they
Orient,
just went underground, and they actually took over the whole structure.
Okay. So they were operating all the way through from the early 80s up till today.
But in a different way. They were not any. After they were exposed as P2 in 1981, during the 80s and 90s, they formed different Grand Lodges and different obediences. So they were not anymore a lodge belonging to the Grand Orient of Italy. There were many Grand Lodges, very different Grand Masters. The whole picture became different. So that's why it needed a Masonic Executive Committee for all these Grand Masters to come together.
Yeah, but did they still have the same kind of...
Because it was not anymore, with 2,500 members, you can open up your own obedience. You don't have to have only... A lodge can be of 50 members, not more. When you have a lodge that has that kind, then it becomes a Grand Lodge. Then it becomes a possibility of opening many lodges under the same obedience, and you are the Grand Master.
So essentially, like, P2 became a Grand Lodge?
Well, it became several Grand Lodges.
Right, okay.
Because actually the number of members started to increase, because they opened several Grand Lodges and they acquired more members.
I mean, essentially, all the way through, the impression I got was that, P2, this is, open history as far as I know, that P2 was like an aspect to Operation Gladio. And Licio Gelli was as much Operation Gladio as he was P2. The two kind of being hand in hand between the Vatican and the CIA.
Operation Gladio was manipulated by the P2.
Yeah.
Operation Gladio is manipulated by high-level Freemasons. So that's how it is.
And Licio Gelli, he was a Knight of Malta. Was he answering to the Grand Master of the Knight of Malta over the decades?
Well, he definitely had a very particular relation with him.
But would he have been operating under papal instructions via?
Yes, directly with the instruction given to him by the Pope himself.
By the Pope himself, totally bypassing the Knights of Malta then.
Yeah.
Okay, and well, that's interesting. And while I think of it, something that you mentioned the last time. Was about the whole Osiris religion thing to do with...
The Knights of Malta, you remember, the Knights of Malta are very powerful, but as I told you before, they are actually the enemies of the Knights Templars. That's why we are in this position now. That's why I am going back to Monte Carlo, because we have to finally get rid of the influence of the Knights of Malta in any way, and also of the Jesuits. So the Knights Templar have to be completely independent in order to achieve their goal.
You said, I remember you writing that you said that just before you left in 2006, before you left the Monte Carlo Lodge, that you'd written a speech for the next big Knights of Malta do. Were you actually a member of the Knights of Malta at that time?
Yes.
Okay, so you were a Knight of Malta as well.
Yeah, but I mean, that was an extra thing I had in my pocket. It was an extra piece of paper, an extra passport, an extra diploma, it was just extra, you know. I mean, in my position, all the knighthoods are possible. They just are an exchange of, you just transform yourself with a knighthood. But, I mean, once you are in charge of the system, all the knighthoods are at your service.
Mm. So, I mean, were you a member of the Constantinian Order?
No.
No? Or what about the Holy Sepulchre?
I worked with them.
Yeah? I mean, yeah. If they got a particular purpose, the Holy Sepulchre, compared to, say, the Constantinian Order or whatever?
It's specifically for certain families who have been bestowed that knighthood, the importance of that knighthood. You understand?
Mm-hmm. So it's a hereditary thing, is it? Is it like a hereditary?
It's an hereditary thing, yes. In most cases it is. At the highest level. At the lowest level, no. You can become a Knight of Malta even if you are, even if you are just a simple doctor in a hospital and you want to work for the Knights of Malta doing some charity work and things. Maybe you find the good side of them at the lower levels.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't criticize everybody that becomes a Knight of Malta because very few people know really what's going on at the top level.
Aren't a lot of Knights of Malta going to be Knights Templar these days anyway? Isn't there not going to be an overlap?
I mean,
like yourself, for instance, you have been a Templar and you've been a Knight of Malta. There not quite a few people in that situation?
Yeah, but that's why we have to come out of this situation. We have to start really distinguishing ourselves as Knights Templar from the Knights of Malta and fighting them again as we used to, as we have always fought against them. That is also the main reason why the Scottish Rite came into existence, because the Scottish Rite was built up as an opposition to the Knights of Malta by the Jesuits.
Right. Okay, but the Jesuits controlling both sides, the Scottish Rite and the Knights of Malta?
Well, ultimately, yes, but I think the Scottish Rite has many times gone out of the control of the people who have created it, because it has a lot of intelligent people in their folds. So I expect a more positive outcome with the Scottish Rite than any other rite, because they are people who are ready to reform their structure if they see the faults.
On that document you wrote, that La Vera Masoneria, the true masonry, on that you put your title as being Grand Master of the Ordo Illumitorium Universalis. If at that time Licio Gelli was the Grand Master of the Monte Carlo P2 Lodge, how did that work if the Ordo Illumitorium Universalis was the
Ordo Universalis came into being because of people that had a very high level esoteric knowledge. Licio Gelli is a business-oriented person. He's also involved in the esoteric, so he supported the birth of the Ordo Illuminatorium Universalis as something that could help the knowledge of the highest levels, you understand, and help the knowledge and become more aware of certain things. But there is a clash now between Ezio Giunchiglia and Licio Gelli.
Yeah. What I'm trying to work out, though, is if you were the Grand Master at that time when you wrote that document, and I think you were involved in setting it up, and was it 1999?
Yes.
Yeah. Then, and Licio Gelli was the Grand Master of the Masonic Executive Committee. Is that correct?
No, well, Ezio Giunchiglia was the guy in charge. Licio Gelli figured out only as one of the founders.
I thought he retired. I thought Gelli only retired.
Yes. No. Yes, that's for sure. But he himself had an honorary title as Grand Master. You understand, given to him because of the fact that he was head of the P2. and his position has always been acknowledged as such, as the great supreme manipulator.